So first off, I'm going to have you introduce yourself and your creative career.
I'm Tom Ellison, and I do botanical prints using the cyanotype process, which is a really old technology dating back to 1842. It was invented by Sir John Herschel, a British scientist, who discovered that there are a couple of iron salts you can mix together and create a solution that is light sensitive that creates all kinds of creative opportunities and possibilities. And it was popular back in the 1840s and 50s, and gradually photography caught on, and it kind of was a forgotten art basically. And now some people have discovered that it's actually pretty neat. You can do some neat things with it. I've been doing it for about 7 years now, and I think I've done somewhere between 3 and 4,000 of these things.
Amazing. That is wonderful. It's a really interesting medium.
Thank you.
Um, so how has COVID-19 affected your life and livelihood?
I'm an old retired guy. I don't depend on my artwork for a livelihood, thankfully. But I had a show lined up at the Littleton Art Museum in April that was canceled. Actually, that's not true. It was put online. And I had one or two library shows that were either canceled or delayed. One at the Loveland Public Library was delayed until just a couple of weeks ago, and it's going on now. So that's about all.
Well, I'm glad to hear your livelihood wasn't destroyed by the pandemic. That's nice to hear. Um, so you've obviously been awarded a COVID-19 work project stipend. Would you mind just briefly telling me about your project and how it can promote connectivity in your neighborhood?
Yeah, I'd love to. Um, so, uh, my favorite Boulder nonprofit is EFA, Emergency Family Assistance Association. And we're both in kind of extreme North Boulder. Um, and I can't say enough good things about EFA. I've been a volunteer at EFA, and a very good friend of mine worked for EFA for a number of years. And I think they're just a wonderful organization. So what I'm doing is kind of a fundraiser for them. Originally, my first idea was to connect it with Thanksgiving, um, but it turns out they've got a $100,000 matching grant that is in effect for September. So they're making a big fundraising push in September, and so I'm happy to speed things up and do that. So what I'm doing is there will be on my web page, which is botanyarts.com, there will be a gallery of 12 prints um, that I'll give away to 12 people who are the first to make donations to EFA. And there will be a page at EFA's website describing with a link to my web page. And so it'll be real smooth. You just click a link, but while supplies last, there are only 12. and I don't like to toot my own horn, but I've sold these for $250 each for this size, so it's kind of a good deal if you like what I do. So, um, can I tell you a little bit about the process of how you make a cyanotype? So,
Please.
you, you mix a couple of chemicals together, and make a light sensitive solution, and then you coat. I use watercolor paper. You can use cloth or various things, but I usually use watercolor paper. Um, and at that point, you can either do the traditional type of cyanotype, which is the way they did it back in 1842, and you just make a composition. I do botanicals, so I'll just lay the botanicals on the paper out in the sunshine and expose it, and then do some washing and further treatment. So that's called a photogram. It's photograms are camera free, so there's no camera involved. Very simple process. But these days, I did that for 3 years. All I did was photograms. These days, I do digital photos and then do some editing and print out a negative transparency. And I do the same thing. I layer it on the coated paper, expose it in the sun, do the washing, do that. So that's another kind. And then you can also do various types of toning or bleaching and get different color effects. And I do a lot of that these days too. So that's kind of it.
Wonderful. Those are beautiful.
Thank you.
I love those. So finally, is there anything else you'd like to share about the project or anything else?
Um, I think that a lot of people think if you live in Boulder, you're doing pretty well. You're not having trouble. You're not struggling financially, and there are a lot of people who are really, really hurting. And FI makes an enormous difference. Um, with, you have families where they really can't afford enough food for their kids, and that is horrible. And anyway, I just hope people will be generous. So that's all.
Wonderful. What a lovely project.
Thank you.